Hey, muy buenas noches, everyone. I hope everybody's doing well, blessed, and enjoying family. And as always, muchísimas gracias to everyone for your guys' word, prayers, and for everything you experience sent my way. From the heart, I appreciate every one of you. Now, before getting into the story on hand, do please excuse me for, I got a mean old gripa, flu, but I wanted to come on here and just put out a little continuation of my story so that I could hopefully touch on my whole story, before the head surgery. But anyways, this will be a short one. I wanted to talk about a little power struggle, and I didn't have the chance to walk the linea with the Phillies in state, but as everyone knows in the feds, it has always been like that, right? So, in my head, I was aware of the power struggles that went on in the state, and how soldados representing Phillies were the ones that they went to war. And as everyone, I thought it had to do with them not being able to put hands on each other, right? Because as you guys know, even so, there was one reachable. Camaradas could not do it. So we circle around to, when it came down to, they would buck up and handle their business. But anyways, allow me to get in debt while I'm expressing. So, okay, well, just to continue off, as I mentioned to you guys, at this yard, I wasn't under the old man Thana, right? But I was receiving flecha from him, right? But as I said in my last story, keeping it sincere with you guys, I was also, trying to make some cheese for hitting the streets. So I was putting my hands in things, right? And it was just so real now that, after 20 something years, me sitting down in the shoe, being a lifer, and never crossed my mind to be on the streets, just being sincere, and if I went in at 16 and didn't have nothing, you can imagine after 2 decades, right? But anyways, on this yard, a camarada from Alley Boys was on the yard. As you guys recall that I've been hearing my stories for a while, Crook from Alley Boys. We're in Ironwood together, and things flip flop, to say it like that. Cause I remember in Ironwood, he was allowed to work, but it was under Sana. He was answering to Sana. Now, after I left Ironwood, he went about it his way, I believe he went to the street, did his thing, and got caught, right? In that Rico case with his Billy from his neighborhood. So anyways, he was on the yard, and as I stated before, the one, the right hand man on this yard for Sana was Frankie, right? And both Billys, they were going through a little power struggle, but they were allowing their sobrinos directly underneath them to basically throw the strings around, without them putting their hands into the mix. And Krug, he's a good camarada, but he had a lot of despite for Delhi. Ever since Ironwood, there was a couple issues there with camaradas from Delhi, and basically, if somebody else would have been there, he would have been in a mean wreck for the actions he was taking on them. You know, not to go deep in it, but it was said tripping on his finest, right? When it's not allowed. But anyways, on this yard, as I stated, I was doing my thing, and of course, as any other camarada, I was paying my respects, right? But I was doing to the one that was giving me escuela, which was Sana. But I remember one morning, the camarada crew came and told me, hey, fool, vamos a una vuelta. So, I knew more so of what it was, which I didn't have a problem, to be sincere, at this time, which is, move work plugs and make some cheese, right? And anyways, he basically addressed me on he wanted he wanted material, and he wanted us both to go ahead and get something plugged in, but to backtrack a little bit, at this time I had already heard from Frankie and Sana about certain actions on Crook, which, they didn't surprise me. Like I stated, he had a little backtrack, right? But it was on the streets in the county jail. He was smuggling up homies from Delhi and another neighborhood. Do excuse me though, I don't recall the neighborhood right now. But anyways, with no foundation. But basically he had Joe back in his play. And I'm not gonna say there was fear, cause there wasn't. But it was a power struggle that you could say Joe and Sada were going through, right? County, street-wise. It wasn't to that extent of, Mando, disculpen this fool, Alvarez, Big Head, or I don't know, from Delhi. Certain other Pilis that had gone to war, right, with Sana. And Sana was more on the hush hush. Now, keep in mind, they were on the same yard, right? But, it's a power trip. And Big Joe had a lot of reach, a lot of power, At the end of the day, he ain't even need to get at me about anything. He had his avenues, his pipelines that, I would go as far as there weren't a lot, right, that had that reach as himself. But nevertheless, I understood that Cook wanted to make Fetty on the side for himself, right? And anyways, everything was feedmas, right? But it came to a point in the conversation where he stated that with this we would be, showing appreciation to Joe, which I didn't have a problem with it. The problem came with the politics came into the conversation, right? Which were, but our conversation right now and what comes in and out, Sana's not to know about this. Like if we were doing something wrong, right? Which I had a problem with it from the gate, cause I was able to swim through the waters, not getting involved in things like that, just by me putting myself in this position and doing what I had to do, right? To start sidelining with someone behind someone else's back and basically just start dirty politicking, you could say. So I straight up told him, hey fool, don't do this to me, don't put me in a spot that I don't want to be in, I don't want to be in the middle of this. We're gonna do something, let's do it. We pay our respects the way we're supposed to. Ain't nobody could say anything, right? all that little headache trip you guys got going for Orange County, you know, it's between you guys. I don't got a problem working with any Billy. At the end of the day, I know my stay here is it's gonna be short or long, I don't know, but unless I do something to get stuck, I'm not here to stay, right? So, anyways, you know, by this time, Crook has said, alright, let me just put some gente together, which, I told him, basically just put his hand correctly and I'll make sure wherever it's at is, whatever he required, it would be there, and it was that, you know, once he did it or whatever, I don't want no part of it, I don't want to catch time, to be sincere, especially behind, material inside. So I told him, whatever comes at the end of you getting it from these people, that'll be my part, right? Other than that, I'm cool with everything. You know what to do with your end. It has nothing to do with me, right? Anyways, we pushed on and we're supposed to circle around and a little later I got together with Frankie and me and Frankie, you could say we did time in the 180 in Tehachapi, right? When that little power struggle went with Cuero and Joker. And as you guys know, it was a short stay, right, for myself. But nevertheless, we knew each other from, at this time, Frankie was for Tio Chino. But, along the lines, things changed and he was on the Sana now. Yeah. Right away, he didn't ask me direct, like, ¿qué huele ahí? But he told me, basically, don't get caught up in them juegos. And I told him, oh, I know, don't trip. Dando y vámonos, right? And you guys will be aware of, because, of course, I understood that I was receiving Clecha from Sana and something came in between. Of course, I was going to show him love, respect, at least. So, anyways, remember that night? They, I got a long kite, right, from Frankie, and basically is when I found out of, with detail, the things he was doing on the streets, crook, which was, utilizing his seat next to Joe to wash up camaradas under false, things. For some reason, too, when it got back to the old man, that old man didn't push to clear things, he allowed it to go down. Again, I'm not saying it's fear, it could have been respect for Joe, right, in his reach, but he didn't get involved directly. Again, it wasn't an open thing as other times, right? But, just to speak about how camaradas, they tend to get power hungry too, right? And they allow that little bit of power to judge them. I know Kirk to be a knucklehead. As I stated, he was ready to go at all times. And, but, in Ironwood, he wasn't like, he was over here, he knew the ins and outs good of politicking. And, he was a knucklehead when it came to that, And, on this yard, there was two mulas, good camaradas, right? And Nano from Anaheim, and the homie P from, he was either from Buena Park or, La Habra. Disculpen, I don't recall exactly. But anyways, One day I did not at a yard is with no warning, nothing, right? You guys know we ain't as deep as in Cali, right, on the yard, so the camaradas are there and doing things you're aware of, right? But you have your locks on, you let them do their thing, and you keep pushing. But one yard, and Nano just came out and he started booking the homie, you know? I mean, he went to town on Camarada. And, when they left, everybody was, I'm guessing, crowns, lo que pasó aquí. And, at first, and I know got to where we got to after that, and he wasn't replying, at least the questions, right? He just said somebody will speak up for him. So it was left like that, everybody thought it was behind them doing something together, because again, you know, the the money maker was coming from the same area, so it's not out of expectations that they did something together that went wrong, right? But they were keeping it on the hush hush. But later on, it came out that it was just Crook making a play on Sana's fingers, right? Which was eliminating, you know, una mula that came in for him. And, to my surprise again, Sana asked, right? And when Jordan and Crook denied everything, Sana left the issue alone. He allowed the homie to take the fall, and you know, he knows why it happened, and the word was when he came back out to go ahead and do him, because he's keeping things. Sana thought he was lying. Well, at least that's what he expressed himself to think. But and with Joe and Crook saying he lying, we don't know what he's talking about. There was no way to press on them to get him out of that spot, right? But again, as camaradas, you're well aware of who's doing what for who, right? But anyways, the homie didn't have no option, but he went on his own to book a camarada when everyone counts a lot, right? Because this is the exact time where I was being schooled on, who to really be the lookout out there, which wasn't Norteños. It was two factions. And we were just maintain as strong as possible on the yard. Right? But anyways, again, I'll make this short this time. I just wanted to tell you guys about this little power struggle, if you want to call it that, and how directly the Pilis weren't involved, but there was a real good politicker, in Ironwood. Kirk what didn't use, and over here he was a big old tecato, but he was good at what he did. Again, for those that know, Big Nose Crook, he was a good camarada, just he had his way to things, right? And how this time he was washing up a lot of homies where, by this time I had learned my lesson to ver, analizar, callar, right? See, analyze, and be quiet, because it would ricochet. That's when it became real that we went from sureños as campuleros having the right to question to not being allowed to do so, or else. That's something I want to pinpoint in this story right over my message. We tend to be on the streets, game banging, doing what we want, putting our neighborhood in maps. We tend to be knuckleheads, ignoring our families, the well-being of those that actually love you, of ourselves, for a cause we believe deeply in heart, to go into something that more than anything, you're gonna follow something you ain't okay with. Maybe in an angle or a different angle. So just ask yourself, are you ready to go down a lane where it's gonna lead to headaches, heartaches if you truly believe in the causa? Or for somebody that don't even belong to to your neighborhood or your family to always have that little thing above you, which is or else. Enjoy life, enjoy family. Man, give yourself the chance to enjoy yourself. I'm blessed for so many things I've seen after everything, right? I can't complain. But you don't want to be 45 like me. I'm not gonna speak on timing, but those know my situation, know, and barely getting to know what family and life really is, right? So be smart, stay true to yourself, and loyal to loved ones. Buenas noches.